Welcome back to the Under the Surface podcast. I am Crystal Woods, your host, and I'm so excited for today's episode because it is a full-blown workshop about profile. What is human design profile? What are the 6 lines that make up all 12 profiles? I do a full breakdown of each line, some of the challenges, the areas for growth, as well as the gifts and certain strategies that I've seen work for entrepreneurs at every different stage, different ways you can position yourself, different ways you can position your messaging to be more in alignment with your profile, with your natural leadership archetype. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode. And if you are all about living your human design, embodying it, not just in your life and your relationships, but also your business, and you want to be in a community of other humans who get it, who love human design, maybe love astrology, are entrepreneurs, very out of the box, very connected spiritually and emotionally, and just there to hold the highest vision for you for your expansion, I encourage you to join the Embodied Leaders Mastermind. I do talk more about it at the end of this episode, so you can wait till the end to hear more about it, or you can click the link in the show notes. There's a YouTube video. It's about 10 minutes long of me going over all the details of the mastermind, what's involved, what you can expect, all of that good stuff. I even give you a behind the scenes, so you can check out that video. Otherwise, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. We are closing enrollment tomorrow, and I don't know when we're going to reopen again. So in case you're watching this or listening to this later on down the line, certainly send me a DM on Instagram anyway, and I can give you an idea as to when we'll be opening the doors again. Otherwise, I do also have a few spots to work with me one-on-one before the end of the year. I have one ongoing mentorship spot. This is a 4-month-long commitment from September all the way through the end of the year, with option to add on an in-person VIP experience, which are so fun. I've done these a few times with my one-on-one clients, and it's probably my favorite thing to do. So I have one of those available, as well as 3 session packages. So the Embodied Alignment Experience, where we go into 3 areas of your life, 3 key areas: your relationship to self, your relationship to others, and your relationship to your business, all through the lens of your human design. So we dive deep into your human design, and I help you to really integrate that, really embody that in those 3 areas of your life. And it's done over 3 sessions, either Zoom or in person. So that's what I have going on for offerings as of right now, between now and the end of the year. If you are interested in either of those, in any of those, all the links can be found in the show notes, in the caption. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. Without further ado, let's dig into today's episode. I suggest taking out a pen and paper to jot down any aha moments that come through for you. If you do not know what your profile is, you can generate your free chart through the link in the show notes, so that you can follow along. As I'm talking about profile, you can know what yours is, and you can know when to prick up your ears. Okay, enjoy. Thank you for listening. Make sure you share if you love it. Make sure you leave us a review, all that good stuff. It all helps. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the other side. Hello. Hi. Okay. I'm here to do a little impromptu training. This is going to be a full-blown thing that you will probably enjoy if you are interested in human design, if you are already a human design practitioner, or maybe you're just human design curious. It doesn't really matter how much human design knowledge you do or do not have. This is going to help you, I think. So we are going to talk about profile. We're going to talk about the lines of the profile. I also, at the end of this live, am going to talk a little bit more about the Embodied Leaders Mastermind. So if you have been having questions about that, stay till the end. But what I'm going to do basically is give you more information. Say hello as you come on. Say hello. Let me know if you have any questions about profile. Let me know in the comments what your human design profile is. If you do not know, you can go to my website. There's actually a link right in my Instagram bio that will take you to get your free chart and a breakdown. But leave me a comment. Let me know what your human design profile is. And if you have any specific questions, I am going to be covering all of these profile lines. I'm going to talk about the gifts of each line I'm going to talk a little bit about like the story arc. So every aspect of a human design chart, I think, has like this story arc, this arc of transformation that is available. So all of these gates, all of these channels, all the types, all the profiles, like have a story. And so, oh, hi. Okay. Christine's a 4-6, 1-3, 2-4, 3-5. Amazing. Okay. Well represented. Go ahead and drop your profile if you haven't already. So, I want to talk a little bit about like, what is the story for each profile line? And then I want to talk a little bit about some strategies that I've seen work really well for different profile lines in business. I've been doing this for about 6 years. I've worked with a lot of different human designs. I've worked with people in a lot of different industries, a lot of different business models, a lot of different strategies. And so I want to share a little bit. Oh, another 1-3. I'm also a 1-3. 1-5, that's not one. Maybe you're thinking 2-5, 6-2, amazing. Okay, leave your profile if you haven't already. So yeah, I'm going to talk about some of those strategies that I've seen work well, not to say that it is a formula, because all the different aspects of your chart are working at the same time. They're creating this like quantum field. And so, we can take something like profile and I can give you a little bit of wisdom, and certainly like the way that I look at profile is a little bit more holistically. So regardless of what your profile is, I think that we have something to learn from all of the different profile lines. And I'm going to start this live talking about that. Oh, a 5-1. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, drop your profile if you haven't already. We're talking about profile today. So yeah, so I'm going to talk about some of the gifts, some of the inner work of each profile line, and you might resonate with different lines. And that's what I want to start off with. So the 6 lines of the profile, so there are 12 different profiles in human design. They each represent a different archetype. I heard it or read it once described as like, profile is the role that you play in the movie of your life. So if you're watching your life and you're kind of like reading about this character that is you, your profile is going to tell you a lot about that. So it obviously has a lot to do with leadership, but these profiles, the 12 profiles, are taken from 6 different lines of the hexagram. The hexagram comes from the Chinese I Ching, or this ancient oracle text, also known as the Book of Changes. So the lines that make up the hexagram are the same lines that we see everywhere in the chart. So if you go deeper into the chart, each gate has 6 lines associated with it. There are, 6 colors and tone, like there are all these different layers of the chart that are based on these 6 lines. And the 6 lines of the hexagram basically describe like this progression or this evolution. You can think of it as like kind of like a growth cycle, right? We have all these different cycles. We have, the seasons that make up the year, and we have the hours that make up the day. We have, the different orbits of the planets. Like we have all these different cycles. And so the 6 lines of the hexagram kind of describe like each stage of the cycle of growth that eventually leads to some transformation. Okay, 4-1. Okay, amazing. If you haven't put your profile in the comments yet, go ahead and do that. Okay, so, and I know I'm nerding out a little bit, but I want to give you a little bit of context, because I feel like, especially if you're watching something that's a little bit longer like this, a little bit longer form content. I'm also recording this for my podcast and my YouTube channel right now. So when you're watching or listening to something a little bit longer form, then I have more space to kind of give you some context for it. Because if you're just going on Instagram and you're reading a post about a 6-2 profile or a 4-1 profile, shit. Okay. My connection is a little wonky. I might have to change rooms. But hopefully we can catch all this. So, okay, welcome. Hi. Oh, hi 1-3. Hi 6-2. Okay, so looking at these 6 lines, you can think about it like this is sort of like these universal stages of growth and transformation. So you can kind of think about it like that. And then your profile is like the archetype that you predominantly embody. I believe that we have something to learn from all different lines, all different profile lines. And because we're always in a stage of growth or transformation, because that is our nature, the profile lines or the hexagram lines can give us a little bit of wisdom and insight into what stage you're in right now and what is required in order for the next stage, right? So I kind of like to zoom out a little bit and look at it like that, so that, we do have something to learn from each profile line. And in my business, I use this quite a bit. I use the profile lines almost like business coaches, and almost like as an identifier of what is required right now for more balance, for more security in my foundation. As a 1-3, I'm like, I want the foundation. So all that to say, these are what the 6 lines represent. So each profile is made up of 2 lines. The first placement is your conscious placement, the side of you that you identify more with. And so this is like what you are, how you see yourself. And then the second number represents the unconscious or the body, or not necessarily how you see yourself, but maybe other people see in you. Also, I just want to blow your mind for a second. Organic coconut water and strawberry Izzy, like sparkling juice. Oh my God, so good. Okay. So yes, first number, conscious personality, how you see yourself. Second number, unconscious body, how others may perceive you. So the placement does matter. So your profile obviously has those 2 numbers. Now a 2-5 and a 5-2 both have the second line, both have the 5th line, but the placement is swapped. So it is going to be a little bit different. But I'm just going to kind of generally speak here to the profile lines, and then you're going to put it together for yourself. Okay. So looking at these lines, we start with the first one, line 1. So if you're a 1-3, a 1-4, a 4-1, or a 5-1, you have a 1 in your profile. And the 1 is here to secure the foundation. You can think about it like, so this is the beginning, right? We go from 1 all the way up to 6. So in the beginning, you come to, something new, a new place or a new adventure. And it's like, okay, how do I get secure here? I need to find out what I need to know in order to feel safe and secure. So that's a major life theme. If you have a 1 in your profile, is security. Now, if you like, your arc with this is going to be different depending on, did you have that security, that internal security growing up, or did you not? And that's going to tell a lot about your journey. But the journey is finding security within. And security is going to be a recurring theme for you. And so understanding what security actually means for you and being able to embody that. And so the 1, because they want to feel so secure, I'm a 1-3, because we want to feel so secure, we get deeply curious about something. It's like, we need to know everything there is to know about that thing so that we can feel secure, that we can feel prepared. When we feel prepared, we feel emotionally strong. So, when it comes to manifesting, or it comes to growing your business, questions you want to ask yourself are, am I secure in my foundation? And if not, what would make me feel that way? What are some things that I can focus on, in order to build out that foundation? In other words, how can I better prepare for what I want to come next? So, if you are at a point where you are maxed out on one-on-one clients, and you're ready to scale some of your, course offerings, just making this up as I go. And also I'm working on this. Prepare for that, set the foundation for that now. You need to feel prepared. You need to put all the pieces in place now, because when you feel prepared, that is when it will manifest, because you will be secure in it. Right? So that is a major theme for 1s. But also, because 1s, we're so curious, we tend to get hyper fixated on things. Also, let me know if you're coming on. just now, what's your profile? We're talking about profile today. Let me know if you have any specific questions about your profile. Currently, I am going through each profile line and I'm describing what that line represents in the bigger picture, and also what are some of the gifts, what are some of the challenges, and what are some strategies that I've seen work for different profile lines in business, and also what they can teach you in your business. So with line one, securing the foundation, making sure the pieces are in place so that you are prepared for what you would like to come next. And also following your curiosity, letting your curiosity take you all the way down the rabbit hole when you feel that urge. And so a lot of ones can end up getting like hyper fixated on things because we want to know everything. And let yourself do that, because what I see in business, especially for ones, is that usually they have some sort of specialized knowledge, right? So maybe you're like a nervous system expert. Well, if you're a one, expert level for you is like expert level times 10 for your average person, because you are hardwired to go way down deeper down the rabbit hole with all the research and the curiosity and knowing everything there is to know. So, when it comes to your business, this is something that you might not be super aware of. You might not, because you want to know everything. A lot of times ones have the deepest ache with imposter syndrome, the biggest challenge with imposter syndrome, because the more you know you don't know. And like with ones, because we want to feel secure in the foundation, we can get caught up in never knowing enough. But if you can pause and you can look for evidence around, like, evidence is huge for ones to like stop the spiral, the mental spiral. If you can look for evidence of what you are feeling like afraid or insecure about, look for evidence to prove otherwise. Look for evidence that you're ready and you're prepared and you know enough. And then take that specialized knowledge and teach it. Like, ones can be really great teachers because you know so much more about a topic than most people know. And usually it's something really like niche. So I would say, if you are a one, don't be afraid to like nerd out on your niche. Don't be afraid to teach something really specialized that you're like, is anyone really going to care about this? Because when you really like let out your knowledge, when you really let it shine, the people that are also deeply curious can find you and be like satiated by your knowledge. So I'm just speaking about the profile. The question is one in unconscious. I'm just speaking about the profile lines in general right now. So you're going to figure out if you have the one in the conscious or the unconscious and kind of interpret it for yourself. Because going through the 12 profiles would be a lot. So I'm just going to talk about the profile lines and let you take what resonates. Okay, so those are the ones. So strategies for ones, definitely, like as far as business strategy goes, I mean, niching down, like say for instance, you are going to go with like an ad strategy. Like, you're going to be super, super niche specific so that your audience actually doesn't have to be that specific, because like the topic itself is so specific. Like, so another example would be like, okay, I'm a perfect example. I'm a 1-3 profile. I'm literally teaching human design to like spiritual and creative entrepreneurs. Like, it's so niche, you know what I mean? And so, and not just, so like niche. So don't be afraid to really niche down and get really specialized as a one. And the inner work for you is working through that imposter syndrome, looking for hard evidence that you are prepared. Like, you'll never be ready, but you can be prepared. And, a lot of that is just like a mental game for you. So working through all of that. Okay. Next, two. The second line, the hermit, is also the natural. Like, twos tend to be the one who could like pick up a soccer ball and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, look, it's like a soccer prodigy. I wonder, I can't remember what David Beckham's profile is. I'll have to look that up. But he is like the soccer prodigy that I just thought of. But the two is the natural, can just like naturally pick something up. That said, the two typically you don't see that for yourself because it's natural for you. So you're like, oh, say for instance, like you get a camera and you pick it up and you start taking pictures and the people around you are like, oh my God, those pictures are so beautiful. You're like, what? Because it just comes so naturally to you that you're like, what are you talking about? So the two can tend to be like a little bit self-deprecating and not see yourself clearly because these things come so easy to you that don't come easy to other people. And it's like, wait, what? It can be like confusing. So what I see a lot is that the two will end up kind of like hiding and just like doing their own thing because first of all, they want to be left alone. Twos are typically like more introverted, I would say. Really want their alone time, want to be left alone so they can like do their thing without people being like, hey, can you teach me how to do that? They're like, no, I cannot teach you. Like I just picked it up and I did it, But I would say that in business, kind of really attuning to your own timing, of course, and honoring when you want to be alone. But what I do see with twos is that they tend to hide the most because you are so comfortable like hiding and being away from people, you can end up hiding your gifts. And so, first of all, being able to really see yourself, really allow yourself to do what comes really naturally easy to you, even though we are programmed and conditioned to believe that a struggle is required and that obstacles are required and that grit is required. Like all of this hard work, hustle, grind for you as a two, it's like, no, probably what comes the easiest to you is the way. And so like deconditioning from that programming, which again, we can all learn from that, right? Again, we can learn from each of these profile lines and the lessons that they're here to embody. But these are the ones for the two that I've observed. I'm not a two, but also please let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your profile is if you haven't already. Strategies for the two. What I've seen is that sometimes because the two wants to feel free to be alone whenever they want to be alone, I see sometimes that the two will hide and be like, I don't want to put myself out there because then I'll lose my time. I'll lose, my sanctuary that is my alone time. And so I see like a resistance sometimes to social media or a resistance to anything where there has to be like constant contact. So if you're a two, like sometimes the little subtle strategies of like hiring an assistant to help you with, answering comments on your social media or maybe even automating some of your social media like DMs, things like that, where it requires less of you showing up at, again, someone else's demand, like when you don't want to. So I would say definitely thinking about that. And then other strategies, I think it really depends on what your other profile line is. Like a 2-4, I'm always looking at like, what's your referral program? Like having some sort of referral program for 2-4s for sure. And then 6-2s, really like speaking from a different perspective and letting that be like your guide. It really depends like which profile it is, but the inner work for the two usually is like, how can you actually see and recognize yourself, get actual feedback and testimonials and look at those every day so that you can be reminded of your natural gifts and how can you follow that and how can you let it be easy because that is your natural state. Line 3. So 1 is like, let's set the foundation. Let me know everything that there is to know. Let me do all the research, right? Let me figure it all out so we're prepared. Then we get to 2 and it's like, okay, well, these are just my natural gifts. Like I know some things, now I have some natural gifts. Then we get to 3 and it's like, okay, I know some stuff. I've got some natural talents. Let's, fuck around and find out. Let's try some stuff out. Let's experiment. Let's take this knowledge and put it to the test, right? And this is where trial and error comes in. This is where the theme, line 3 themes are trial and error. So kind of learning things the hard way, as in just learning by doing. You can read a book about something 27 times, but you're not actually going to embody it. You're not actually going to know how to do it, whether it works or not for you, until you actually do it. And that's what the 3 is here to embody. And Ra always said, or I heard this from him in one of the courses that I took from him, that business is a third line. Wait, what was the quote? Business is a third line process, because you're really not going to know what works until you try it. And that's what the 3 is here to embody. So, 3s are the ones that are all about like, if you're a 3, your messaging is probably like, take action, don't be afraid to make mistakes. But that is a huge part of the inner work for 3s as well, especially like if you grew up in an environment where you were maybe criticized or shamed in any way for making mistakes. Yes. Then you are going to be afraid of making mistakes. And as a 3, that's going to be super counterintuitive to your actual purpose. And a lot of times we have to go through that. Like I know for me, perfectionism is a huge thing that has come up, especially recently, that I've been working through, like a new layer of, because, when you have more to lose, and it feels that way sometimes. This is like what I have been working through. And so, and especially like when you have more responsibility too, like it can feel more challenging to take any kind of risk or make any kind of mistake. And so as a 3, that can be really paralyzing, because you are here to learn by doing. And of course, like, by making mistakes, but also knowing there are no mistakes, following your strategy and authority into the correct experiences for you, really having trust. All of these are themes for the 3 to really embody, so that you can have the courage, so that you can have the attunement to follow what feels correct for you and learn by doing. So in business, the 3s are the ones that are not just telling you, but they're showing you. So incorporating a lot of showing, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of stories about your experiences, like these all work really well for 3s. Also, not being afraid to move quickly, not being afraid to pivot, not being afraid to, just try out different stuff and have more variety. If you're a 3 and you're going to have a signature offer, for instance, that's cool. But thinking about how are you going to switch it up so that you don't get bored? 3s tend to be like, we can get bored easily. We can be a little bit more impulsive. There's also a theme of bonds made and broken for 3s. So 3s want to like bond, be in relationship, and then break away and have freedom from it and learn whatever needs to be learned, and then maybe come back or maybe not. So, having that in mind when you're in your business too, and realizing like, yes, you can have stability, you can have consistency in your business. And also, how are you incorporating novel experiences? How are you incorporating new stuff, transformation, alchemy? Like all of these are themes for the 3. So what else for the 3? Questions? Any questions? Who's a 3? There were some 1-3s in here, right? Let me know if you have questions. Say hi. Tell me your profile. Okay. So at this point, we've learned some stuff. We have some natural talent, and Now we've really learned some lessons, right? So I'm a 1-3 profile. So I'm always wanting to learn more. I'm always wanting to have a secure foundation. And then there's this part of me, the 3 part of me, the part of me that's, feels so like deep in my body will get restless for a new experience. And then my 1 is like, well, now we got to set a new foundation for this thing, right? And so there's always like this push and pull for me personally as a 1-3. And so looking at your profile lines and like what that combination is can, again, like interpret that for yourself. But when we get to the 3, now there's like this transition from the 3 to the 4. And if you look at the I Ching, the hexagram has a lower trigram and an upper trigram. So there's the line 1, line 2, and line 3, and then 4, 5, and 6. But, so like, this is why we have resonance or harmony with certain profile lines. And I'm not going to go super into this right now, but like I teach this inside my human design training program when I teach relationships through human design, because we connect with certain people in different ways depending on the profile lines. And so, so we have harmony with, like, line 1 has harmony with the 4, and line 2 has harmony with the 5, and line 3 has harmony with the 6. And so those themes carry over into these next 3 lines. So 4 already has a solid foundation, but 4 wants to keep that foundation. And the 4 keeps that foundation by getting their message across to the right people, connecting with the right people so that they can get their message across. So like 4 is called the opportunist, but really they're just looking for the opportunity to share what they know, to share what their foundation is, what they have learned. Because remember, when we get to 4, it's like, we have the information, we have the natural gifts, now we have the embodied experience. By the time we get to 4, we're pretty solid. So that's why 4s like typically don't love to be challenged, because they're like, well, I know what I know and it's my foundation, and I'm just trying to tell everybody about it. I'm not trying to have you tell me about yours, right? So 4s can have a little bit of tension there with not wanting to be challenged, which is interesting because they also relationships are so important to the 4. So again, when we think of the 4, we think a lot about that word opportunist, but also networks and relationships. And the 4 is typically the person who like knows everybody, who like has a guy for everything. I'm like, oh, I really need help with social media. And if I'm talking to a 4-1 or something, they're like, oh yeah, I have what qualities do you want in them? They've got like a whole list of them, right? They just know, they seem to know everybody. They just naturally connect people. And so for the 4, you're all about relationships. And also some of the work can come from not actually having expectations for your relationships, in that you understand that not everyone is hardwired for them in the same way that you are. So like 4s can have trouble with becoming cynical or jaded when it comes to relationships, because they just expect that everyone is going to know how to treat them, because they just naturally know how to treat everybody else. So I find that with 4s, it's like really being brave about communicating what you expect from a relationship and what your standards are for a relationship and what your needs are for a relationship, and understanding that that person probably doesn't naturally know it, and you need to tell them. So that's a big one for 4s, like those relationship themes, finding that the balance in relationships, finding the right networks, creating the right networks. And in business, really leveraging that. So I mentioned in the beginning, like referral programs, like the best way for you to really take your business to the next level. And I would say this is relevant for every level. I've worked with entrepreneurs who are, from just starting to like 8-figure businesses, where it's like, the next level usually is going to come from a connection in your network, a connection from someone that you already know. So yeah, like for instance, like you could run cold ads, you could do that, but it might be more beneficial for you to do something like a referral program, or if you're going to run ads, run them to, followers of your followers, right? So it's like thinking about how to maximize on the people that I hate to say maximize on the people you already know, like just use your people, use your people, because like that's part of your purpose, is finding the right people to get your message across to. And fours can be pretty niche too, just like in who you are. So really, like, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but the more willing you are to be fully authentic, the more you will attract exactly the right people for you. And that's where your best opportunities are going to come from. Okay, it's 2:22. Gotta love it. Say hi as you hop on. Let me know what your profile is. Now we're moving to line 5. So the 1 sets the foundation. The 2 brings the natural gifts. The 3 learns through experimentation and, failing forward. The 4 creates the right networks, the right relationships, really like lets the roots grow under the ground, that's what I imagine with the 4. And then the 5 is like, okay, now we're ready to take this solution. We have all the pieces we need. We have all the trustworthy companions we need. And now we just need someone to lead us, take the troops, like provide the solution that we have all been waiting for. That's the 5. 5 has natural leadership energy that by the way, we can all sense all of this in each other. And now that you've listened to me, you'll be more tuned into this. So when you're watching someone talk and they're doing their thing, you'll probably be able to predict like, oh, I bet you they're a 3. They keep talking about embodiment, or they keep telling me a story about what they learned from the last thing that they did, right? So when we get to 5, we get to someone who has this natural leadership energy that we can sense. So 5 in human design, we talk a lot about like the savior, the white knight, the one who is pedestalized, because there is this sense that this person, this 5, can save the day in some way, can solve the problem, because they are here to be a creative problem solver and solve the unsolvable puzzles. That's what 5s are here to do. They're here to solve an unsolvable problem and take that solution and universalize it. What I mean by universalization is like, for instance, the window, I don't know, like that was a solution to an unsolvable problem. Like, we need a window because we need some light in here. We can't see anything, but like, the bugs are coming in, it's getting cold in here, like the weather's coming in. We need a window. Probably a 5 figured out that we need a window, or the 5 saw someone else making the window and was like, that's it. We got to universalize that. Now it's a universal thing. The window is a universal thing. So it's like, what's your universal solution? And 5s are also hardwired to like see the problems, right? And so one challenge for 5s, I think, is like, that can be internalized a lot, where you're just looking for all the problems within yourself instead of looking out into the world at all the problems that you could be solving. And also, because you are projected upon to save the day, like, I don't know, you could be like the youngest sibling of 5 and still feel just like the pressure to solve all the problems, because it's like you're wired for it and everyone senses that in you. And so you feel their projection. And that's why we talk about this projection field with the 5th line. It works both ways, by the way, but people will project onto you that you can save the day and you can solve the problem, and you'll feel that pressure. And so a lot of times, like, you will, even if it's not your problem to solve, even if it's creating a toxic relationship dynamic, whatever, even if it's draining your energy, even if it's taking up your time. And then you can project blame onto them, right? So there's like this double projection thing that happens. So, that typically for fives, and I work with a lot of fives, I don't know what it is about me that attracts fives, but I've been surrounded by fives my whole life. Both of my parents are 3-5 profiles, like fives. And a lot of the work that I do with fives, especially my clients who already have a lot of influence and visibility, and it's like they're getting to the point where they've been in a plateau for a while and they're not quite breaking through to the next level. And almost every single time we start with, well, where in your intimate relationships do you still feel this urge to constrict or contract or make yourself smaller or dumb yourself down or dim your light or whatever? So that's typically where it starts, because that is basically that relationship. Maybe, like with some clients, it's a parent. With some clients, it's a partner. With some client, but it's like someone close to them where they don't feel like they can fully be themselves. And that is basically like a microcosm for what's happening in the bigger picture of their life and in their business. So we typically will start there. But that's big work for the fives. And also knowing what problem you solve and knowing what your unique solution is. Like your solution is not going to be like anybody else's solution. And a lot of your messaging is going to be about that. Like all of these solutions are this, but they're missing this. This is the unique solution. This is the creative solution. So that as messaging as a five is like really powerful. And also knowing that like you stir something up inside of people and they will project parts of themselves onto you. So, for instance, like I have one friend who a lot of her community like projects all of their own magic onto her, and like they see the most magical part of themselves in her, but then they put her on a pedestal, right? And so being aware that that is probably going to happen, being aware of the influence that you have, being aware that you're here to be like, have your solution be seen in a massive way. It's like, what are the things on, internally that need to be shifted so that you feel safe and secure and like fully confident being seen as yourself, no matter who's looking at you, being so secure in who you are that other people's projections do not actually affect you. You can let it roll off because you're like, no, I'm very clear on who I am. And I'm very clear on how they're projecting onto me their own stuff. And it's not my problem to solve. And I'm still going to keep doing me. And when you reach that like internal level of conviction as a five, this is where I see like major explosion, like expansion. If you're just coming on, let me know what your human design profile is. I've been speaking for a little while. I'm going to wrap up here with the 6. I can't just like dabble, Gotta just go all the way down the rabbit hole because I'm a 1-3. I love to give you context. I love to give you the whole story, the whole shebang. Lastly, 6. So the 6 is the last line. So we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've solved the problem. We've led the troops into battle. We've universalized this solution. We've gone through it. We've gone through all the stages. And now at the 6, we have perspective. So if you're a 6, if you have a 6 in your profile, I think a lot of people teach line 6 as you go through these 3 stages of life, which I do as well. But I've heard people say like the first stage, you're pretty much a 3. And I think in some ways you can like present as a 3, but I think there's like this fundamental difference because the 6 is the 6 is the 6. The 6 is here with a different perspective. Both of my children have 6 lines. They're not like me as a 1-3. It's different. They have a different perspective, even as children. And like my way of looking at it is that as a 6, you come here with a different perspective. And those first 30 years are you embodying that perspective through your experiences. So again, you're like presenting like a 3 because it looks like you're failing forward and you're learning things the hard way and you're experimenting and you're learning through trial and error, just like the 3 would. You're bumping into different experiences and different people that kind of like shift your trajectory. But the difference is that you the entire time have a different perspective, like a perspective, a way of seeing things that other people don't see. And so this is why I think like 6s tend to be like the old souls, you know, like the little wise children. Like some of the things that my children say, I'm just like, you are correct. That was very mature of you, like very wise of you to just see it that way. So anyway, so in business, the 6 tends to be the one that's just like offering perspective. It does depend like where you're at in your life. If you're in that first 30 years and you're kind of like going through the experimentation process, if you're in, you know, age 30 to 50-ish, where you're really putting down your roots and you're solidifying everything that you've learned and you're integrating and you're, you know, observing and starting to like take on more of an advisor role in your life and in your business. Or if you're age 50 and up and you're really just like full on role model advisory role, either way, there is going to be an element of advisor to it. Like whatever work that you're doing, like in your business, a lot of your messaging, and a lot like really leaning into your perspective, leaning into your unique perspective, because the thing that I love about 6s is like you can provide a really unique perspective that is totally so far out of anyone else's conscious awareness. And it's like I find with 6s, it rarely like offends someone, where if a 5 said the exact same thing, it might be offensive. There's like an energy to the 6 that's very like just generous, like here's my wisdom, here's my perspective. And so I think like in your business, like don't be afraid to take on a little bit of an advisory role, like really own the fact that you have a different perspective. Hi, Kate. Yeah, I just talked for a while all about profile. Those are the 6 lines. Yeah, like I said, the first number of your profile, it relates to your conscious personality, how you see yourself. Second number, unconscious body, how others perceive you. So kind of looking at each of those profile lines that I just went through, taking a look at where it is placed in your profile and interpreting that for yourself. But let me know in the comments, like what resonated with you, what themes, you know, do you feel like you're working through with your own profile? And also in your business, like which stage are you at right now? What line can help give you a little bit more balance as to where you're at? Like, are you in a stage where you actually need to be doing a little bit more research? Like before maybe you're going to develop a new course or a new offering. Are you in the research phase right now? You know, and know that if you're in that phase, the purpose is to secure your foundation, you know? And then the second line, like, are you in a phase where you're really honing your natural gifts and talents? You're really tuning into those. You're really like working on those, like the 2, or you're really in a hermit phase where you're allowing yourself to just be fully immersed in your work behind the scenes. Or are you in like a 3 phase where you're like, here we go, let's try some stuff out, let's experiment, let's, you know, yeah, let's fuck around and find out? Or are you in a space like the 4 of, okay, let's grow our network, let's work on our visibility, let's, you know, expand the network in some way and really connect with the community and create a sense of community around the brand? Or are you in a line 5 phase where you're like, let's problem solve, let's know what actual problem we're solving for people and blast it so everyone can know about it and we can create a movement with it? Or are you in a line 6 phase where you're like, okay, here's what I learned. Here's my perspective. Here's how I would look at it if I were you, right? So each line, there's like the personal part of your profile that's like, that's your profile, that's what you're embodying, that's your archetype, that's how you influence the world around you. Yes. And also looking at these 6 profile lines as stages of your expansion, or maybe even like areas of your business to like help you feel more solid. And when you're not feeling solid, or you're feeling out of balance, or when you're starting something new, coming back and being like, okay, what phase are we in and what do we need more or less of? Like, do we need more experimentation right now? Do we need less researching right now? So that's how I like to look at it. And I also like to understand like how other people's profiles influence me. And obviously, I don't really have time to get into that right now, but if this is all really helpful for you and you feel like being immersed in more of this and looking at like how your human design is actually translating through your business and how you can do that with more intention and more powerful results, then you might want to consider joining the Embodied Leaders Mastermind. We are now open for enrollment. We close tomorrow. So I am about to drop this month's workshop into our mastermind. It is a Virgo season workshop through the lens of human design and the gene keys and the I Ching, and it's about an hour long. And so I'm going to go give that to our mastermind members, but we are doing roundtable sessions in there where we all look at your chart and we give you insights and guidance in the group. This is a group full of people who already know a little bit about human design, maybe astrology too, and you really want to live your life and build and grow your business in alignment with your human design, your purpose, your potential, your mission. And you want to do that in community with other humans that are like you, that think creatively and do things outside of the box and want to think of strategies that no one's ever done and want to offer things to the world that no one's ever offered and want to carve a path that no one's ever walked. We all get it. These are the types of humans that I tend to attract into my world, into every container that I've ever hosted. And so I'm really excited to have this new space, the Embodied Leaders Mastermind, where we can mastermind together in our roundtable sessions. We can co-work together in our focus sessions. A lot of us, that we have like 4 or 5 manifestors. And so we love the body doubling, working off of each other's energy, keeping each other accountable to actually working on the bigger vision, getting out of the day-to-day and looking ahead, looking at the bigger vision. How can I move towards that? And doing it all together, doing it all in a community of people who really honestly get it. So if that sounds like it's for you, I would love to welcome you into the mastermind. You can leave a comment with the word mastermind and I will send you over all the information. Or my connection's failing, so I'm going to call it, but thank you for being here. If you watch the recording, please drop a comment and let me know. And like I said, DM me the word mastermind if you are interested in joining the Embodied Leaders Mastermind. Have a great day.